Following the detention of Nnamdi in Sokoto prison, what is the new DOS doing to ensure that the Biafra objective is achieved?
That is why there was a regime change among the DOS structures, because we have gotten to that level where it becomes crystal clear that another set of people need to come in and bring in a fresh energy, and that. And Nnamdi was very strategic in that regard, irrespective of whatever opposition people are bringing on the table. That is not going to be accepted by anybody. So the driving force behind the new DOS is very clear, that they are the one. If you listen to Chris Ewogu very clearly, he told you that the coming of Biafra and the recognition of Biafra by the entire global community is going to come under this fourth, republic of the DOS, Directorate of Service. So that is what it means. So if you see Nnamdi Kanu, no matter how tight it is, he is still very operational. He's still fully focused, even while he's still in that custody. Where he is today, he is aware of what to do at every particular time. So that's why he told you that IPOB as a structure can never be defeated. I can never be run down completely by anybody. But it has shown leadership in that regard. So the significance of this deal is the world is already watching, because they seem to be more sophisticated than the ones we used to have in the past. This was, within a space of a few days, you have seen them pushing very close to the Oval Office, taking the entire Washington D.C., the Congress, to a serious diplomatic engagement and possible signing of treaties on the recognition of Biafra. And so many symposiums are already going on, conferences and summits are being organized by this great personality called Chris Ewogu. A lot of people might not know him, but today we are hearing a new leader of the DOS worldwide, and not just, but it happens that he resides more in United States of America.
A lot of people are asking that, why is Israel? Because if you check Twitter, a lot of people from Israeli cabinet, they are tweeting about Biafra. Why is Israel so interested in Biafra?
Yes, we have similar stories, and it has been believed that they are one of the progenitors of the Igbo race. We come from the lions of Abraham, and of course God, of course, who happens to be our direct ancestry. And when you come to the Hebrew heritage, let me put it that way. So Nnamdi has actually confirmed that when he granted an interview in an Israeli television, where he said it very clearly. And former ambassador to U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Kissington, has also made a similar statement in the past concerning the Igbo Jewish heritage. So and of course, as a result of that too, when we are engaging, backing on Yom Kippur War, the way we are taking on over how many nations, when Israel brought how many nations down in less than few hours. Biafra and the rest of the world, including Nigeria, we are at war just within that period. When you talk about the Holocaust, you mentioned the killing by Adolf Hitler. But also in Nigeria, when you talk about Africa, Holocaust that happened, pogrom that happened in this part of Africa. Igbos were also, victims. Similarities of heritage, similarities of the same history, and of course the same story. Shares the same cultural and traditional background with the Jewish tradition, and that's why the Portuguese, when they came into this part of the world, even before the British or any other, colonialists came into Africa, they made references to the Jewish way of doing things in Biafra land. That Igbos they are the ones that called Igbo the Jews. So you remember, it's not created. You know, they are the ones that named them, Biafra. They are the ones that called them Biafra. They are the ones that said they are Jews. So you can see, before, as at that time, they came up with that understanding where the Portuguese started writing that Igbos are Jews, the Biafrans are Jews. So it did not come from us. It comes as a result of we share the same culture and tradition. If you remember, some time ago, the Israeli government has actually sent some tourists to visit the entire Igbo land. I don't want to tell you the secret of the kingdom in Anambra State. And when you still go to inside that Anambra State today, you still see the David logo, there, almost everywhere in that area. You still see that David logo. The sign of David, the Star of David logo in Anambra State. It's still very much there. Anytime you go there, you see them. So there's this understanding that we are the black people. I remember the ancient, Jews are blacks. I'm not sure you would say they are the black people. I remember that every point in time, the Israeli government also make references to the lost tribe of Africa. When you talk about the lost tribe, so we have different connections, different synergy when it comes to culture and tradition. So that is actually, by the way, and this sympathy and popularity that's growing within there, because Nnamdi was able to build and be able to create that diplomatic, cultural and traditional tie. Before the challenges he's facing now came to play. So the Israeli government understands very clearly. If you come to Africa today, we are talking about black Hebrews. Hebrews are number one. Then you go to Kenya and Uganda and then Ethiopia. I remember, remnants of the Igbo race are still there in Ethiopia. They call them Ethiopian minors. And of course, that is where the name Biafra, originated from.
All right, so what would you say to what some Biafrans are saying that Nigerians, Biafrans, should support Peter Obi to become the president because it will easily aid the Biafran struggle?
Well, let me just tell you, Peter Obi presidency is Peter Obi's ambition. And anyone that feels that he wants to support Peter Obi is 100% okay. But in the issue that has to do with Biafra is just a collective responsibility of all Biafrans, not about Peter Obi presidency. Obi presidency has not come. That does not mean that I will not be doing what we are doing to see how the world can just go ahead and recognize an already existing nation. If we can go ahead with his presidency, personally, I don't have problem with that. God willing, he match a big plus. If it doesn't match, a little continue. The struggle for the recognition of Biafra continues.
All right, so what would you also say that the Fulanis and some Northerners, why are they truly against Biafra?
It is very clear. This is what I'm telling you very clearly, that before now, initially they never wanted one Nigeria, and they were given time to do that. They are the one that started Araba before any other thing. But you can see that the issue of Islamization and the issue of conquest, and of course natural resources, is the reason why they do not want Biafra to go, because they feel that majority of the resources that will keep them as a nation, will keep this country, corrupt, that will keep this country on immorality, that will make this country unambitious, is centered on the resources from the old eastern region. And because they feel one other connection or the other, they continue to subjugate, using the United Nations allies, other Arab nations to continue to operate and subjugate that issue that has to do with the Biafra. So, but now, the world, so many things have broken that jinx, and one of the things that broke that jinx is the internet. They cannot longer, have a monopoly like what they did in the 60s, in the 50s, and in the 40s against the Igbo people. It can no longer work again. So we will deploy all manner of tools, including intellectual campaign, diplomatic, solidarity around the world, and to make sure that we defeat that sentiment that the Biafran land, the Eastern Bloc, must come under jihad and Islamization.